and those fights were lost, and you saying that someone like Fury cheated you in those fights, I think is kind of disappointing to me.
I know the truth. I have the facts.
Okay.
Understand that. I got the facts of it.
No, fair enough.
I got the proof. I got the people to tell it.
And we'll look forward to seeing that.
That.
We'll look forward to
understand that. What I say in boxing, I mean, and it's the truth. I risk my life for you's entertainment to see.
No, absolutely.
So I ain't never lied about none of this business. You can believe it. Why is it so hard to believe a black man than a white man? Understand me? Why is it so hard to believe a black man than a white man?
Why you don't believe it?
Why is it?
Good question.
Yeah, go on.
So first and foremost, it's got nothing to do with color.
This whole country got some. This whole country got some to do with race. You think you pan out? You think you have a? You had a great life. You think your life has been like mine?
Listen,
you got white privilege, brother. I ain't never had that. I'm a black man with dark skin. Ain't nothing ever been given to me. I had to kick in every opportunity that I had. That's what it is. Y'all don't understand. Maybe y'all don't talk about this shit in this country.
Yes, we do, mate.
But when you get me in here, I speak the peace. I speak the truth.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you.
Yeah, go on.
If this is about color,
I got to.
Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Yes, this is my channel. Tony also knows boxing. A lot of great things happening in boxing. Whoa. It got heated. Wow. You saw that intro, right? Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. I'm not pulling any punches. I'm going to cover everything on this channel. And I want to talk about Shakur Stevenson. People thinking that he's not half Puerto Rican or that he can't claim his Puerto Rican side, that he's black. Listen, first of all, what people don't understand is that Shakur Stevenson's father is Puerto Rican, a brown-skinned Puerto Rican. And where do you think the color comes from? The color comes from either Africa or the Arawak Tainos of Puerto Rico. So we have a lot of Puerto Ricans that come in different shades of colors. And can we actually claim Shakur Stevenson as a Puerto Rican? Yes and no. Shakur Stevenson, he didn't grow up with his father, who is full-blooded Puerto Rican. He passed away. They never had a real good relationship. And at the end, before he passed away, they built on their relationship, and the relationship got good before he passed away. So his last name is really Rivera, Shakur Stevenson. A lot of people are really trolling on the internet, going back and forth about race, saying that that a lot of Puerto Ricans are coming out of the woodworks. They're crawling out of Iraq, all of a sudden claiming Shakur Stevenson because he's looked good against Zepeda, and he beat and dominated Teofimo Lopez basically on one gear, just using the jab and a little tiny bit of movement. He really didn't move around a lot. He just was able to negate anything that Teofimo Lopez came with. But a lot of people are saying, not everybody, that Puerto Ricans were not claiming Shakur Stevenson as much as they are now after he beat Teofimo Lopez, because a lot of the people that were going for Teofimo Lopez didn't like Shakur Stevenson before the fight, but now a lot of those same fans that went against Shakur Stevenson thinking that Teofimo Lopez was going to win the fight, now they're claiming that he's Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican or Puerto Rican, whatever. And some people think that that's very just disingenuous because you wasn't claiming Shakur Stevenson as Puerto Rican. Some people, not all, because there's a lot of people that claim Shakur Stevenson as Puerto Rican, but at the same time, you got to call it for what it is. And Shakur Stevenson has Puerto Rican blood. He's half Puerto Rican. His father's last name is Rivera. He's a brown-skinned Puerto Rican, his father. And he can pass as an African American if you don't know if you didn't know that he was Puerto Rican. But at the same time, color is very misleading, and you can't always go by color. And I believe that Shakur Stevenson is embracing his Puerto Rican roots, and he has the right to do that. And I think the African Americans that are upset with him embracing his Puerto Rican roots needs to shut up and let him embrace his roots if he wants to embrace his roots. If he doesn't embrace his roots, that's another story. He has the right to do that as well. He grew up in an African American household. Everybody's African American. He don't know how to speak Spanish. He don't know the language. So to really resonate with the Puerto Rican people from the island, I'm talking about from the island, you really need to speak Spanish to resonate in a way where the frequency really resonates with the people, because the Puerto Rican culture and language is very important to people in the island, more sometimes than the people in the States, depending on how you grew up, what you value. Because I grew up in the States, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I represent Puerto Rico hard. Like, yes, I represent Brooklyn, but I feel more from Puerto Rico than from Brooklyn, even though I love Brooklyn and I love Puerto Rico. But Puerto Rico's my culture, it's my ethnicity, it's my roots. So I associate more with Puerto Ricans from the island because my mother taught me Spanish first in my home, and she always stressed the importance to keep it real with your Puerto Rican heritage. And I spoke Spanish first, and then I learned English in school when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So my Spanish is impeccable. Is really, really good, and I could say that I'm Puerto Rican more than somebody that doesn't know how to speak the language. I'm not saying they don't have the right to say they're Puerto Rican if they don't know how to speak the language, but if you don't know how to speak the language, you're not going to be able to resonate with the Puerto Ricans as much as somebody that knows how to relate with the people of Puerto Rico and the island that speak mostly Spanish, and you're not going to be able to connect as much unless you speak Spanish and grew up in the States and know how to do both. But if you grew up in the States and you don't know how to do both, you only know how to speak English, you're going to have a hard time resonating with the people of Puerto Rico or the island, because it's more prevalent, the Spanish, and the culture is very important that a fighter, especially that's fighting at a high level, they want the fighter to represent the culture thoroughly, speaking Spanish. And if you speak English, it's fine. But as long as you represent the culture thoroughly, like Xander Zayas, he knows how to speak Spanish and English very well. So yes, there's a lot of intangibles that comes with representing Puerto Rico as a whole. And Shakur Stevenson, you can't deny that he's half Puerto Rican, and he's embracing his Puerto Rican roots. So all those African Americans that don't understand, the ones from the South and the ones from the Midwest, they don't understand, because the way they were segregated in those cities is totally different than New York and New Jersey and Connecticut and Philadelphia and so on. Those cities like the North, like Philadelphia, New York, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Long Island, wherever, Connecticut, New Jersey, they're not as segregated as those places in the South, Florida, Georgia, Atlanta, Chicago. They're more segregated, where African Americans are predominant in a neighborhood, and Puerto Ricans are predominant in one neighborhood, and Mexicans are predominant in another neighborhood, and then they got Polish. That's Chicago. So the way the way those cities are segregated, they become very oblivious and ignorant to the fact that Puerto Ricans could be just as black as them. They have African roots just as much as them, or less than them, but they still have a variation of African roots where they're still considered people of color or black. You know, that's how they do it in America, but we don't really pertain ourselves to a color. We consider more the culture of Puerto Rico, and we know we have African roots, indigenous roots, Arawak and Spanish roots, but we don't focus on the color like the way they do in the United States, because the United States was segregated by color, and the English did not allow the African Americans in the States to have their own land like the way they did in Puerto Rico. The Spanish allowed Puerto Ricans, the Latin Americans, and the Caribbeans to have their own land. And the culture prevailed as far as the drums, the bomba, the African drums. It prevailed in Latin America and the Caribbean and so on. But in the United States, they have the R&B, the soul. So they did not, the English felt threatened by any slaves that were African to actually play the congas and the drums, because then they would unite and rebel against the colonizer. But they didn't do that in the Latin American countries like Puerto Rico, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Latin America, Colombia. They were allowed to actually play the drums of Africa. So we have the roots of Africa in all of Latin America, And the United States, they don't have the drums that we have in Latin America. So a lot of people that grew up in the South, Midwest, they're very ignorant to the fact that Puerto Ricans have African DNA and they could be considered black. A lot of times there's a lot of Puerto Ricans that you would look at them and think they were just African American, but they're actually African Puerto Ricans, but they're full Puerto Ricans. It's just that that's the colonization that was the race that was created with Puerto Rico was created through colonization. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we want to talk about boxing, but do you guys think that Shakur Stevenson is getting bad feedback from African Americans saying that he's black, that he's not Puerto Rican, that he's not even half Puerto Rican? That's really disingenuous because, okay, he's African American as far as the way he was raised, but he's both Puerto Rican and African American, but he cannot resonate to the Puerto Ricans the way a Puerto Rican that speaks Spanish can. So he has the right to actually cater to that fan base because that fan base is going to follow Shakur Stevenson, and he has the right to say, I'm Puerto Rican and African American, or I have Puerto Rican blood. He has the right to say that. You African Americans are being butthurt because he's representing both his cultures. You shouldn't even dictate or try to gatekeep what he represents, what he claims, and what he doesn't claim. You have no right to do that. You need to go to New York, the East Coast, the northern part of the United States, so you can learn a little bit more education about how Puerto Ricans could be just as black as African American, or even more black, depending on what nationality, what race, what bloodline you have more of. My grandfather's an African Puerto Rican. He's an Afro Puerto Rican. So a lot of people don't like to use that term because we don't really focus on the color of our skin. We focus more on our culture. We're all the same, but there is racism everywhere. So we're not going to deny that either. But I say be proud of your roots, and if you're African American mixed with Puerto Rican, you should be proud of both roots. If you want to represent one or the other, that's up to you. You have the right to do so, but you shouldn't let anybody who is not part Puerto Rican dictate to an African American that is part Puerto Rican, because that's being a control person, a control freak. You shouldn't try to dictate and be a colonizer yourself by trying to control what they want to represent. So if they feel like they want to represent the Puerto Rican roots and the African American roots, they have the right to do so. Shakur Stevenson has the right to do so. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. I'm gonna read some of the comments. Mame Wally 1973 says hi. Thanks for tuning into the channel. Mame Wally, I hope I didn't butcher your name. Mame Wally 1973 says hi. Subscribe to the channel. Cole Stazak, what is it? Cole Stazak says hi. Thanks for tuning into the channel, Cole. Thanks for joining the channel and tuning in, and click the like button and give me your comments. What do you think about Shakur Stevenson claiming his Puerto Rican roots? He has the rights to do that. And what do you think about people like African Americans, and a lot of them going hard at him for representing his Puerto Rican roots and going hard at Puerto Ricans, saying that 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 he don't get his skills from the Puerto Ricans, he gets his skills from the African American, etc., and that he's not Puerto Rican, and the not Puerto Ricans are trying to claim him, and they don't believe that he's half Puerto Rican. But in this case, he is half Puerto Rican. But there's Puerto Ricans that look black, that are black skin and are full 100% Puerto Rican. But in this case, Shakur Stevenson is half Puerto Rican. But still, he has the right to claim his Puerto Rican side if he wants to. And if it's going to give him more of a fan base, why not? But I do believe that there's Puerto Ricans out there that are coming out of the woodworks now and all of a sudden claiming him when they didn't even like him before he beat Teofimo Lopez. They were critical of him, and that's not right either. I think that's hypocritical. If you're going to be supporting him, support him from the heart. He's a very talented boxer, and he deserves all the credit in the world. And he beat Teofimo Lopez with the jab and dominated him. And Teofimo Lopez's father was looking for excuses, saying that, the bump on Teofimo Lopez's eye, the bruise, that was a headbutt. He's such a sore loser. The Teofimo Lopez and his father, they're big sore losers, Give the man Shakur Stevenson his credit. He looked superb. He looked impeccable. His performance was dominant, and he beat Teofimo Lopez basically with the jab the whole fight, and he was pummeling him with the right hook, the left jab, the right jab, and hitting him in the left eye, and he was punishing him. He won fair and square. He dominated. I don't see any round that Teofimo Lopez won. I think Shakur Stevenson is the truth. And I've been telling everybody, all the non-believers out there that were going for Teofimo Lopez. Okay, Lourdes Rivera, 9913 says, hey, we Ricans did not force him to put the flag on his shorts or put the flag in his Instagram. If he feels that way, we embrace him in the island. That's what's up. That's right. If he feels like that, he has the right. That's his prerogative. He wholeheartedly felt to put the Puerto Rican flag on his trunks because he wanted a relationship with his father. He got to have a partial relationship with his father, who his last name is Rivera, before he passed away. So there's something inside of a person in their mind that always tugs at them, especially if they didn't have that connection with the father of the Puerto Rican side. He's going to want to reclaim some of that Puerto Rican culture in some way. If it's important to him and if he wants to be authentic and real, that's what he'll do. And that's exactly what he did. But a lot of people that are not, a lot of African Americans that are not part Puerto Rican, they feel offended and butthurt because he's half Puerto Rican, half black, and he wants to represent that. What's wrong with him wanting to do that? You guys got to stop that. Let him choose what he wants to represent. He has every right to represent both nationalities. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Right, let me read the comments. Lourdes Rivera, 9913. Thank you, by the way, for tuning into the channel. I appreciate you. Lourdes Rivera, 9913. Well, whoever feels offended, put a complaint against him for treason. Why the hell should they feel that way? The kids is trying to connect with his roots. That's right. That's right. He has every right to connect with his roots. No one has the authority or to actually impose on Shakur Stevenson to only represent the African-American roots. He should be allowed to represent his Puerto Rican roots from his father's side and his African-American roots from his mother's side. Why is it so hard for some people to accept that? Those are the racist African-Americans that say that. Those are the racist ones. You have to be fair, and he has the right because he's the one that grew up that way. He grew up being Puerto Rican and African-American, even though he didn't grow up with his father. You still have to give him that right to represent both cultures if that's what he chooses. No one forced him to do that. And we accept him. Puerto Ricans accept him. We accept him. He's a great fighter. And all right. Yahedits, UWU. Yahedits, number one. Yeah, but no. All right. So everybody tuning in, I appreciate everybody tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning in to the channel. Subscribe and don't be afraid to click that like button. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe and comment. Give me your opinions. What do you think about the way people are going so hard at Puerto Ricans embracing Shakur Stevenson as Puerto Rican? I mean, he's half, and I already explained the dynamics of that. Yes, join in. Thanks for tuning into the channel. Subscribe to my channel. Tony also knows boxing. Yeah, so what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Now I want to talk about Deontay Wilder. He was at the show, Simon Jordan's show. He's going to fight Derek Chisora on April 4th, 2026. And they seem like very amicable with each other. They seem like they're friends and they respect each other. And there's no animosity between Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder. And this is going to be, I believe, Derek Chisora's last fight. And they're going to fight in England, I believe. And the show got a little heated when they brought up the topic of Tyson Fury to Deontay Wilder. And Deontay Wilder said, "We're not going to talk about we're not going to talk about Tyson Fury." Deontay Wilder told Simon Jordan, "We're not going to talk about Tyson Fury." And he said, "I just wanted to ask you a question about Tyson Fury." He said, "We're not going to talk about that." And he said, he don't want to talk about that. We're talking about Derek Chisora. And he said, "Fair enough." So, but he kept insisting. And after a while, when he kept insisting, he basically said that he has the footage, he has the video. And he said that if Tyson Fury in the training, in the footage, put something in his gloves and then he took it out after he finished training. What makes you think he's not going to put that back in when he gets inside the ring when he fights me? So he said, I got proof that he cheated, that Tyson Fury is a cheat. And I agree with him. I know that Tyson Fury cheated, but, you know, they wanted to downplay it. But there's a lot of politics, you know, and there's a lot of ways that they set people up, especially with African Americans. I agree with a lot of things that Deontay Wilder says, and I'm fair about that. And I truly believe that he was cheated. He was cheated in the rematch, and he was cheated from getting a knockout victory in the first fight. The referee was counting very long. It took him so long to get to the 10 count, and he purposely did that. And I believe there's politics behind boxing. And yes, I believe that Tyson Fury did cheat in the rematch in the second fight as well. He had the advantage with the referee in the first fight. The second fight, there is proof on video that he cheated. And Deontay Wilder says he has the proof. So I believe that. I've always believed that because I checked out the videos. And, you know, a lot of people do things with videos. But he has the original videos. And there's videos for him to prove it. He's not going to say that if it's not true. Because I know Deontay Wilder is a very honest person. And I do believe that he is telling the truth. And based on what I saw in the videos, I believe that Tyson Fury did cheat. If he put something in his gloves while he was training, what makes you think that he's not going to put that back in the gloves when he goes to the ring to fight Deontay Wilder? That was a good point that Deontay Wilder said. So yes, Deontay Wilder fights April 4th, 2026, and his last 4 fights as of early of 2026 resulted in a 1-3 record, consisting of a June 2025 TKO win over Tyrell Herndon, and he had a loss in June 2024 of the 27th, 5th round TKO loss to Zillia Zhang. And December 2023, he had a points loss to Joseph Parker. So, you know, his last fight, 2025, he won against Tyrell Herndon in 2000. No, not Tyrell Herndon. I mean, he lost. He won in June 2025 by TKO. He knocked out Tyrell Herndon in the 5th round. So that's his latest victory of Deontay Wilder. Do I think he'll win this fight? You know, it all depends on who comes in the ring. I have not seen too much of Derek Chisora, but it's supposed to be his last fight, Derek Chisora. So I don't know. I don't like when they're friends, when the fighters are friends before the fight. I just don't like that. I'd rather have them be just blatant enemies because I just think it makes for a better fight. That's my opinion. But maybe Deontay Wilder's not even thinking about, oh, we're friends. He's probably thinking when we get in the ring, the friendship goes out the window. Maybe Derek Chisora's thinking the same thing. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Yes. So what do you guys think about all these shenanigans happening? Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Check out my music on all major platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Pandora. My new single's coming out. Stop Being Greedy, featuring Keith Murray of the Death Squad. You know who he is, the platinum selling artist, and he's gonna feature on one of my singles to lead up to the new album, The Essence of Who I Am, on all major platforms, dedicated to my mother. So yeah, check that out. Check out my music on all major platforms. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Do not be afraid to click that like button. And I keep it real. I tell the truth. If you don't like it, too bad. Subscribe to the channel.